Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show that talks about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories, our mysterious stories, our unbelievable stories, our synchronicity stories, the stories that make us go, wow, I can't believe this world is so amazing. It's way more amazing than I thought. Or, oh my goodness, the creator's talking to me. Those kind of stories. We love those stories and we share them here on Soul Nectar Show. I am your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I love having these kinds of dialogues. I love, traipsing around between the dimensions, across the rainbow bridge, helping people to connect the pieces of their soul and to get the next step of their soul journey and all that good stuff. It's pretty fascinating stuff. And today I'm here with my friend Laurie Seymour, who also loves all of this kind of stuff and has her own podcast called Wisdom Talk Radio. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you, my dear Carrie. And you're on Wisdom Talk Radio as well. So love it. Love all of this. And I'm so delighted to be here with you.
I'm really glad. I love my friends. So don't I have the coolest life, people? I love this life. This is so awesome. So I want you to love your life as much as I love my life. So reach out if you want some help with that. And look at this. I want to tell you more about Laurie, because Laurie, she's a #1 best-selling author. Like I mentioned, she's a podcast host of a wonderful podcast, Wisdom Talk Radio. She's a trainer, a speaker, and executive coach. And 20 years ago, she was honored to receive the stewardship of a special esoteric technology that accelerates the process of innovation and creation in individuals and groups. And with this as a foundation, she developed the potentiation process, which teaches you how to access and leverage your creative intelligence. I love that. That's amazing. So Laurie particularly loves working with innovators, thought leaders, and designers and company founders, because her work accelerates the time from ideation to implementation and revenue, while also opening new levels of confidence, peace, and satisfaction. So she's written for a number of places, the Huffington Post, Elephant Journal, so you've probably seen her out there. I'm just excited to know her because I'm connected with Laurie through the Evolutionary Business Council, which you guys have heard me talk about. I just love our connection. I love the leaders of light in this movement and the big mission to really change the world by empowering 1,000 thought leaders to reach 1 million people each. This is awesome. And you guys can help us do that, right? You can follow Laurie's podcast, Wisdom Talk Radio, and you can like and share mine too. So let's get it going on, people. The polar caps are melting. Stop delaying. Let's get it on. All right. So Laurie.
Carrie.
I'm particularly fired up today. Anyway.
You are. I love it.
I'm even like a little bit red. Like if you look at the camera, it's funny.
So, I know. I look so pale next to you.
I'm like a burning fire right now. I'm just like. So, all right, let's get on with it. I really want to hear more about your story, because I know how fabulous you are. I've known you for a while, but I don't really know a whole lot about your personal story of how all of this awakening unfolded for you into your purpose that you're doing today. And I know you're really passionate about helping the world be a better place, just like I am. So tell us more.
Woohoo! Wow. It's always where do you start? And I think for me, the moment that I want to start with in this story is that I was trained as a psychotherapist. Was all the work I did for the first part of my life. And I went into it because I needed to know more about me. I was always the friend who was, helping people and talking to them and maybe talking them off the wall, maybe helping them to open up. But I was that person. But inside me, I felt pretty lost. And I felt really, probably at base, empty. I mean, and there was this real feeling of, even as I was doing all this training and work and psychotherapy, and I was out there, even on the edge of that, I was trained, my degree was in humanistic psychology. I taught at Naropa Institute, all around transpersonal psychology. But there was a feeling in me, no matter what I did in terms of my own work, there was still that kind of piece of emptiness. And where I know that came from is, at least part of it, is that when I was very young, just before I turned 7, I lost my dad.
Hmm.
And he was the one in my life that had always shown me unconditional love. He was the one I learned it through. He was the one I experienced it through in the world. And I think, we need somebody to hold that in the world for us in order to remember where we came from, in order to remember who we are. And because I lost that person very young, and because my mother was so stressed with 4 kids, she was left with 4 kids and no money and all of what that meant, I learned struggle from her. I learned how to survive. But I didn't have that deep, deep piece of myself that felt like it got lost in that time. I want to fast forward many years beyond that and go to something I received in the mail. Something I received in the mail about somebody's work and come to this experience. And it was so far out that I could barely even, entertain the thought. But there was something in there that absolutely spoke to me that just said, basically, you need to be here. Only I had clients that night when it was going to be. And so I couldn't go. My husband at that time had patients too. He's a chiropractor and he couldn't go. So I kind of left it. And then, of course, what do you know? Those clients both canceled, so those evening sessions. And I talked a friend of mine into going with me and met somebody that utterly and completely changed my life in that moment and changed the whole forward trajectory of my life. And she changed it because, well, her way of working was all around energy. And I had been studying energy at that point in many different ways. I had been training and teaching all kinds of people. But there was something in this work that made in me, anchored within me, that unconditional love, that experience inside myself for myself, not because I felt it from this teacher, which I did, but really because of this energetic opening that I experienced that allowed me to feel that. And allowed me to trust it. I mean, I came to trust it over a period of time, but because it was anchored in my body, I got to come back to that over and over again. And I got to look at situations that would be like, oh, that's an old story. That's something I already know about, how to doubt myself. But it doesn't fit with this that I feel now, this that I know to be true now. And so self-doubt started just not, I couldn't even find it. So that was one of the major pieces. And there's so many others after that, but that was probably the most pivotal shift of me finding who I am.
Wow. I really resonate with your story about your dad being that source of unconditional love for you, because I also share that story and love my dad, such an unconditionally loving master teacher person, and when, like the huge rock of the family. And so I really honor that story. And then when you were talking about like your experience of unconditional love being an energetic thing, I could completely relate to that too. It was like for me, I was working towards unconditional love, like a theoretical concept, if
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. Like,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think we all do until we finally get it. But it was like a thinking about it rather than a feeling it.
Yeah.
And I'm very stubborn and very smart. And so those two things are good tools of the ego to keep you from getting that oneness.
Mm-hmm.
So, because too many thinking is the thing. So
Yeah. Those of us who are smart have a hard time.
it's
We
hard,
don't
right? I think
realize
we should
that.
talk about that. So the thing that helped me was that you had something that helped you. The thing that helped me was plant medicine. I was on a plant medicine journey with
Mm-hmm.
ayahuasca, and all of a sudden I heard her talking to me, the plant, and she
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, would you like to receive love?" And I was like, Well, that's a stupid question. Yes.
Hell yes.
Yes, I would like to receive love. And like
Mhm.
the love came down, I kid you not, like a freight train running through my body. And I trembled and I shook for like a half an hour until I finally calmed down.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of that, in the integration of that experience, I mean, I was the rest of the evening, I was like orgasmic, like just sitting in my chair, like just breathing puffy love clouds, like to the whole room, and everyone's like, we saw your puffy love clouds. I was like,
But
so
when you're filled with that much light,
I was like,
whew,
whoa, here's some puffy love clouds for everybody, because I got plenty. So let's talk about that, because I noticed it was like a crust on me. There was actually a crust that had to be like shook loose or vibrated loose, or like uncrusting my heart, or like
mm,
unshackling my body and my spirit or something. Like, I don't know what your experience was like, but that was kind of mine, till
yeah,
I had to warm up.
there's certainly there's certainly an integration that has to happen. For me, because I don't know why, but it didn't happen in quite that way. It wasn't like something had to
But
shake
it
off
had
or
to shake you.
uncrust, but it did. It shook my whole world. It shook my body. It shook everything. And I remember that all I could see was light for a very long time after that. And it was that experience of light energy in my body, but the physical experience of light and everybody I looked at, it was like seeing God in everybody, seeing presence in everyone. And so how could I not have an open heart? It just was there. It wasn't like I had to work at it.
That's amazing. So you were able to somehow perceive people at a soul level or at a higher level with your
Mhm.
eyes, like with your physical eyes.
Yes.
What a
Yes.
gift. And can you imagine what the world would be like if we were all able to do that? Let's imagine that.
Yeah, I do, because it is actually one of the things that I often will say to a client or a student, something about, look at whoever you're struggling with and realize that God is there too. God is alive and well in that person. Presence is alive and well in that person that you're directly connecting with. And if you can even have the idea of that, the thought of that, it takes us out of judgment. It takes us out of having to win or feeling like we're losing, and right into that place where we say, well, wait a minute. If God is alive and well over there, even if I don't like whatever they're doing with their personality, even if I can't stand it, wait a minute. Let me look for that.
Oh, I like that you just did that. Like,
Yeah.
let me
It's like parting the
part,
veils and
yeah,
yeah, the shadows,
the clouds, like the storm clouds
clouds.
or
Right.
whatever, and like peel it back and like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it takes
who's under there?
willingness.
Yeah. Because it's on the inside. This is a piece, we've all heard that quote about Michelangelo, carving the statue of David. And
Mm-hmm.
somebody asked him, well, how do you carve the statue of David? And he says, I don't. I'm just carving away what's not the statue of David, which doesn't
Exactly.
make sense to
Exactly.
anybody, right? But that's exactly what we're doing. I feel like in my experience, it carved away what wasn't me. It like took it off, and it had to chisel it off because I was very stubborn, right? So it had to freight train through me,
Yeah.
because so this is true for a lot of women though right now, Laurie. Like, we have a lot of very strong, powerful women who have had to claim it. Like, they've had to like fight for it, earn it, scratch it
Mm-hmm.
together, clutch it, climb the mountain. And now, how does a woman like that awaken to unconditional love and support? When she hasn't had it in her whole life. Tell me that, Laurie. Tell me how.
Well, that's an interesting question. And I don't think that it's always a matter of having to be awakened to it. I think it's a matter of like how to build the bridge to that which already exists. And to like for me, I've been working on a whole new languaging of what I do. And by the way, this is, well, maybe by the time it airs, it may not be the first, but right now, this is the first time that anyone has used those words back to me of the potentiation process. That's brand new.
That's
Brand new.
you guys are the first ones to hear it, because this is going to go out like pretty quick. It's going to be out in a couple
Okay.
weeks.
So
I get to be number one. Okay,
you
so
do, you do, you do.
I like that. Win-win.
So Wait, where was I?
I know I do that. It distracts. So tell me about this process. Like how do you what is this process, and how do you bring people through it? How does this potentiation process bring people through?
Well, so okay, I know where I was going with the connection with the women who were, having to be strong and out there. That with this process, I'm now building the bridge from the way I used to talk about things, which was in a pretty feminine way, or at least my version of that. Maybe a little bit out there, talking about it, things like initiation and things like that. That's out there. But if we realize that innate wisdom, quantum leaps, that there is a physics to that. And that's the first step in the potentiation process, is understanding the physics of what quantum leaps are, of the connection of the unified field and the way in which innate wisdom works. And so then the next part of that, the next step of that is gut instinct, understanding the science of gut instinct. What is that? Because that's still not what we're capable of. We're capable of so much more than that. And the third part of that is the inner compass. And that's the piece that I've been out with for a long time. But that's now fitting into this whole process, because I'm taking it out to do that with teams of people and within groups, within corporations. And that inner compass is the learning about that, the understanding, how do we work with that, and the reality of there being within us that inner guidance system, that inner compass, that when we learn how to work with it, we have discernment, we have an ability to speak with that connection with an innate wisdom, we have the ability to bring through what steps are next. And then what's after that? And then to take the inspirations that are coming, the ideas that are coming, and know that they are already set up for you. They are yours to do, so that you don't have to sit there and wonder, is this really for me? Is this just an idea? Is somebody on the other side of the country going to do this before I do? Oh my God, I've got to get to it because I'm going to lose my timing. That you can relax into the knowing and have the ability with this co-creative process to take it into market, to actually manifest it, to write that book, build that product, create that which is needed in the world. Because we know, the forests are burning, the ice caps, as you said in the beginning, are melting. There's so much we need to do. And the ability to take care of that, the understanding and the ideas to address those things, they're already present. But we need to know how to receive them and then how to take action with them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's already present. And this totally ties in with, these, well, while you were talking, I was getting this vision. What's that book where all the kids are lost on the island and then they turn savage and they
was that 1980? No, it wasn't 1984.
no.
Oh, yeah, I know
They
exactly what.
teach it in elementary school. You guys all
Yes,
know what that
yes,
story
yes,
is.
yes.
And they're all on the island and they're just like, they got the
Right.
leader and everybody, And so that is kind of like how I view the earth right now. Like everyone's doing
Mm-hmm.
that, right? Like a bunch of lost children that are like competing with one another over resources and bullying each other and,
Mm-hmm.
acting really poorly because they don't have an adult there to teach them how to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the adult, what is that? That's the great spirit. That's your soul. That's higher consciousness. That's God. That's whatever your word is for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is. And so as we get pushed into this situation on the earth that we created, right? The lost children created a situation on earth that is now untenable. And
Mm-hmm.
so the only ones that can solve that are not the lost children. It's the
Right.
adults.
Right.
The adults can solve the problem, but the children have no idea what to do with it now. And in fact, like this is one of the ways that I feel that the Great Spirit has orchestrated things so that, these lost children will come along back home when they realize okay, the only way to solve this is we let mommy and daddy help us, you know, like, okay,
and, and that's higher intelligence.
yeah.
Yeah. But if we don't know how to connect with that, if we've shut those doors and closed the windows and we're buttoned up tight, you know, or we're just so caught, and we talked about this in the beginning, so much in that thinking way of being. Was so much of my life.
Thinking is not being. Thinking is the opposite. Thinking takes you out of your body. Like, it takes you out of presence. It takes you
Mhm.
into thought tunnels, and you can spend your whole life in a thought tunnel.
However, I mean, thinking is not something that we want to throw out.
No, we need to use
How do we
rational.
use it? How do
Yeah.
we use it in a way that connects us with the rest of the field?
Yeah, it's sort of like all of the one time when one of my teachers told me that your vessel becomes like a library that the soul can draw on
Mhm.
in order to share really profound wisdom with you. So
Mhm.
you want to fill up your vessel with really good content so that your soul has lots to draw from. So if you're filling up your vessel with meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, that doesn't really matter. It's just status, 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 data, 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 data. That's not really good content. That's just
It's more of the same.
it's just more of the same, you know. But and if you're sitting at home and you're watching football, you know, and you're not playing football, you know, I mean, if you're just sort of armchair quarterbacking it, or let's say you're watching the news and it's the same rerun of bad stuff, you know, that is just filling up your vessel with really kind of poor content that's not going to get us anywhere. The solution is where we're at. Like, we want to focus on, you know, what can we actually, how can we let our souls lead the way? In order to find that, we're going to have to access the inner compass you're talking about. So how do you help people access that?
I teach people about how to do that in the whole process. And it's partly the first step of that, after the understanding of the physics of all of how that is set up, is the feeling body. Starting to get familiar with the feeling body, because that's the part of us that we generally have tended to ignore. Now, we pay attention to it in terms of instinct, of gut instinct. Oh, my gut tells me to do this. Well, that's the body to some extent. But there's a whole experience beyond that where we start to tap into, with our body, we start to tap into that greater unified field where we're connected with all the things that are present in the universe and all of what is wanting to manifest. And once we start to learn about that, and then we have to learn about discernment. How do we tell the difference between what's an old thought or what's a pattern or an old story, and what's what I don't know another word to use for it here. What's the truth? And what I mean by truth is the truth that comes from that higher intelligence. So it's not a psychic thing. It's connecting to source. It's connecting to that higher intelligence. So I work with people energetically too to start having them experience what that feels like. Because just like how I felt that unconditional love in my body, if you don't feel it in your body, if you don't start feeling what this is like in your body, you don't have a reference point. You need to understand the concepts behind it, but then you need the reference point in your body. And for
Yeah.
me, teaching people about a certain way of meditation so that they can have those experiences in their body, those somatic experiences. And
And
that's part one.
once you know that, once you know what it feels like, now you know what you're aiming for. And it
Exactly.
reminds you too, like, of who you really are. And once you get reminded of who you really are, then that starts to come in. Then you can start to see that in other people, which helps you to have unconditional love towards others, because you recognize yourself. And once you recognize your true self, you recognize their true self. I mean, I still see the personality. I'm not going to say I'm done with this, right?
No,
Like,
it's not seeing the personality. Personality is their vehicle. It's
they're the
okay.
vehicle. I still see the person. I still get annoyed. You know, I have all those experiences still. I'm not exempt. But what's different is that I recognize that they're having an experience that's totally unique from mine,
Yeah.
that they actually were gifted that like God told me to call it a thumbprint suit. So like almost like this, like a little thumbprint suit, like your soul can slip into the suit And it's
Mm.
got like unique perceptions, unique knowing, unique life plan,
Mm.
unique. And so two people are never going to see things the same way.
Mhm.
So flip it. Like stop thinking that that everyone should see it the same way, and start
Mhm.
realizing that everyone actually doesn't by design. And that makes it our job to have self-mastery, to communicate and connect with one another. So like it's the
Yes.
opposite of what you think. So
Mhm.
you actually have to work at it. Don't expect to not have to work at it and then get pissed off when you have to work at it. Like realize that we're all so unique, 8 billion unique thumbprint suits, that we have to learn how to build bridges with each other.
Exactly. Exactly. Such a beautiful way of putting that, Carrie. I'm going to remember that.
I
Thumbprint.
asked for a simple one. I was like, give me something simple, please.
Well, again, going back to that sense of the unified field, we're all different vibrations, each of us. And we can tap into different frequencies as well. And so I want to honor your expression of that just as I want to honor my own. And I have no need to judge yours when I'm honoring my own. If I, when this is one of my cues, and it's great for me with my husband, really anybody. When I'm feeling judgmental or irritated, I know somewhere I've left myself.
Yes, such a good
And
point.
yeah, so I always have to come back to that as like, oops, okay, for a moment, I forgot who I am.
Hmm.
And that's okay. I don't have to judge myself for that. I can just do it's an oops.
It's an oops, I wanted to go hop over into that thumbprint suit. I mean, we all do, right? We see it, social media makes us want to do it even more. So, but we got to be happy with this thumbprint suit. This is the one, and guess what? Like, as soon as we're all done and we take off these thumbprint suits, we gather on the other side and we go, wow, yours is pretty cool. So, I mean, it's all just part of the journey. But
It is.
this is,
I love it. I love that the uniqueness, because this is the joy of my work, is helping people connect with their own unique expression. And there is the oneness, absolutely. But then there's that uniqueness. And I'm so curious about that. And if people can, this is another piece of the process, of the inner compass part of the process, which is developing your curiosity about yourself and the world, not your judgment.
that is curiosity rather than judgment is a huge theme through so many teachers I've had,
Mm.
because, and I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, what is judgment exactly? And I think it's the judgment is the ego. It's like the
Mhm.
ego saying, I don't want to pay attention anymore. So I want to categorize things so that I can go back to sleep because this
Yeah,
is taking
it's
too much
easy.
effort.
Hmm.
And I want to put everything in a category so I can ignore those things that I don't like. And I can pay attention to
Hmm.
these things I do like. And then I can judge those things when they come up in my field again. Like, I already told you I don't like you, because I don't want to have to understand it. Whereas what you're saying is curiosity is the soul's way. The soul's like, no, we're here to be awake every single second of this miraculous experience.
And so with that curiosity then in place, and active, then you can start to have discernment. You can't have discernment without the curiosity.
You have
You can't
judgment
know truth with no. I'm saying you can't have discernment in your not judgment, but you can't have discernment, which is the ability to know truth without curiosity.
without curiosity. Yeah, you have to have curiosity first. If you're in judgment,
Curiosity
you're
first.
automatically you can't be. You're not discerning. You're
Yeah,
just like,
you can't. You think you are. Oh, that you're wrong.
discerning that you're wrong.
Yeah. Because you've got to come back home here
Yeah.
and see, so something is here. Like I might have a feeling as you say something, Carrie, that my gut kind of goes, ooh, okay. And I could immediately assume, from the place of non-curiosity, oh, you're way off. You're crazy. You're this or that or the other. But if I get curious about myself instead, if I get curious about, oh, I noticed that, I don't want to override it, I notice it, then to start that inner process of inquiry, of inner research, saying, hey, what's that about? What is that? Oh, maybe I'm picking up something that I didn't even realize until I go into it.
I love that you just said that, because I was going to ask you that. So that's a process too of teaching people how to not make assumptions, which is part of the Four Agreements by Don Miguel
Mhm.
Ruiz. I love that book. I
Mhm.
work it every day. Not make assumption and look into it, for be curious about, well, why do I have my stomach churning? Because it might be churning because that thing triggered something in me that doesn't want to change.
Absolutely.
That happens all the time with people that
Yeah.
meet me.
Or it could be something, I mean, a lot of people, and this is really often true for women, is that we think there's something wrong with us. You know,
Yes, we
I go into a
internalize.
party where I was feeling great before I walked in, or I go into my friend's house and I start feeling like, ugh, oh well, here it is, a party again. I'm not very good at parties. I must be coming down with something, and on and on and on. But instead, maybe you're picking up something that happened with the couple who's hosting the party, the energy that's happening. Nobody's saying anything, everybody's putting on a great face, but you're picking that up. And unless you go into it, you don't know. You're dumping on yourself, or maybe you're dumping on the scene instead of having the ability to be fluid with it and to be curious.
So what you're saying is that part of what could be blocking unconditional love is people misinterpreting the signs that their bodies are being given.
Ooh, yes, indeed, indeed. Because we're quick to try and interpret. We've been taught that we should do things quickly. And so if I have to do things quickly, then I'm going to interpret that this particular feeling in my body, or a thought in my head, or an idea, and I'm just going to lump it. You talked about this earlier. I'm going to put it into that bucket that says, don't like this, do like that, when maybe that idea that just arrived from presence and is really specifically for you to do, and it's already laid out, you dismiss because it's too scary, or it's so far out of the ordinary, or it's just so far away from what you've been doing and you think you have to continue to do that.
Oh gosh, that
It's
brings up
wrong.
like another reason is that it's that group conditioning, that group think.
Yes.
Group think is dangerous. Like,
And we can have groupthink with ourselves.
yeah, we can all the selves, but like group think is kind of, it gets things stuck. It's gotten things stuck for thousands of years. This group think and these rules and the punishment for not following the rules.
Yes.
Lots of punishment.
So part of my work right now is to take this into places that have the ability to innovate, that want to innovate, but they're doing it in some of the old ways.
Hmm. They're trying to like put one foot in both places. Like
Yeah,
we're gonna not risk being cast out by being too adventurous,
right.
but we're gonna be adventurous to seem cool and like really know. It's like, well, which you
Exactly.
got to go all in. Like, I think
Yeah, I
you
mean,
could.
and I'm here to build that bridge so that you understand why we can access higher intelligence and then how to do it.
Yeah, without it being like a foreign concept or something that's rejected. You said something earlier too that I wanted to circle back around to, about we have to make decisions quickly. And I feel that that is actually an egoic construct to make
Mhm.
decisions quickly. Talk a little bit about
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what I was alluding to. You nailed it, which is we don't. I mean, we're constantly making decisions quickly because if the saber-toothed tiger is behind us, we need to know we have to run. If somebody that reminds us of somebody that hurt us in the past suddenly appears in our life, we need to know to protect ourselves. So those are the they're kind of micro decisions. They're decisions that are made out of instinct or out of old patterns. And if when we do that, we don't get to the heart of the matter. We certainly we don't have unconditional love for ourselves because we're in the pattern. And it's not that the pattern didn't ever serve us, because it probably did. It's more recognizing, oh, that's a pattern. That's part of the whole process. The potentiation process is beginning to learning how to recognize what's a pattern and how that feels in the body, so that those quick decisions, well, you can pull them back and say, wait a minute, let me be with this. Let me go into a quiet space. I've often told people, if you're in a work situation and you're not, knowing what to do, go to the bathroom, take a few breaths, get connected, really, really get focused, because nobody can tell you not to go to the bathroom. Once people have this pathway embedded within them, they can be in a work meeting or in a contentious meeting of some sort, and they can just quietly take a few breaths for just a moment, because a single breath, that's the connecting place. A single breath can connect us right back in, and so what we then speak to comes from that place where we are connected with our own higher intelligence.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much they stop breathing. I realized it. I went to Ausangate in Peru on a sacred journey, and I was up there for a week. And it's high altitude. It's like 14,500 feet.
Yeah.
And if you don't breathe, you die, people. Like, if you don't breathe, you will die if you don't get enough blood in your oxygen in your blood. So I had to deep belly breathe like the entire time I was up there, especially when hiking. I had to take huge deep belly breaths. You don't realize the impact on your body, I think, if you're not breathing. Like, I feel like we need to be more conscious about our breath, and that the anxiety that's prevalent today, think about it. People have to make quick decisions. They're in meetings. They're not taking a breath because they're holding their breath because they're tense about the decision they have to make. They're tight and they're not breathing, and their body's like, I'm starving for oxygen.
And you want wisdom on top of that?
Yeah. And then, plus, there's no time to take a pee break. I literally sat in an office one time with somebody who didn't. I went to the bathroom like 5 times during the 8 hours, and they didn't go at all. They didn't go one time. And they didn't drink any water. And I thought, this is insane. And I think that happens a lot of days in corporate America.
Yeah. You know what? Truth be told, I sometimes can do that at my desk.
Yeah, I do get lost here, but I do drink water and I do go to the bathroom. But there are people who sit there for 8 hours and never get a chance to visit the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's not paying attention to the body. It's an animal, people. You're inside an animal. Like, come on, take care of it. It's like a puppy.
Time to go for a walk.
Seriously, it's like a puppy. Like my puppy just came up.
And you're taking a drink of water.
And I am, because I don't care if I'm on the show or not. We're sitting here for an hour. I'm going to have some water,
Absolutely. So I love this conversation, Carrie, because there's so many places we can go with it. And it comes back to that we have available to us a way to connect with our own higher intelligence. And that it's available to each and every one of us. I do believe, I don't believe it, I know this to be true, that there is intelligence in every cell of the body. And we only need to get that activated and learn how to connect with that.
And it's beyond intelligence. I love that. But for me, it's also like a feeling of, okay, so I've had a few moments in my life that I remember very clearly where I was like being held like a little kid, being held by my dad or being held by my mom, where I'm curled up and they're reading me a bedtime story or something. And I feel so safe and so held and so loved. And that yummy feeling right there. That's
part of higher intelligence.
That's the feeling I get from my soul, from God, source, creator, great spirit, whatever you guys want to say.
Yep.
I get that feeling like I'm being held and loved by somebody who really loves me.
Yes, absolutely. And I know, I think that maybe why you said that, I'm going to ask, is when I said higher intelligence, that sounds very almost cold.
It does. And then this is a really warm thing, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is totally. When I feel that love, it is not emotional. It is not emotional at all. It is a frequency. And it is, it's like, it's utter joy. It's just present, and it's boundless and endless.
Yeah, and you can drop into it or get chiseled out of your way to get it. Like I did. I mean, maybe you need the freight train of love. I don't know, like I did, but
Mhm.
it is. The other thing is that when you're in unconditional love, sometimes it rattles cages. Like it does
Oh, yeah.
tend to vibrate at a pace that disturbs other people's crusty stuff. Like,
Absolutely. Because it's like this. I think of it like this. There's truth, and that's a pretty high frequency, but there's different levels of truth. And then if people are not in truth,
they feel exposed by truth.
it's a vibration that it's like, whoa, wait a minute, who are you, and what are you shaking up here? Because the vibration of truth doesn't hang out with what's not truth.
Oh, Laurie, I'm laughing because I'm finally understanding. There's somebody that's been in my life for a while who, you know, has some issues with truth. And and I'm a truth meter. Like I've always just been that. I just showed, I don't know why. I just am. So whatever. I feel a lightning rod of truth through me. I've felt it my whole life. Like I just know the truth. That's the truth. And I know when I'm lying and I can feel
Uh-huh.
the dissonance. I feel it
Exactly.
like dissonance. If I'm lying, it feels like dissonance. I'm like, well, that's not
It
true.
is.
But if I'm in truth, I feel good, you know? So I like
Mhm.
to stay in the truth because it feels better. But I've been around a certain person who doesn't have as a little bit more crusty. Let's just say more crusty. Got a lot more crust.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing is when I'm around this person, it vibrates their crust and then they internalize that and project it out and say, "You're lying," like back at me. And I just realized
Ah,
why.
a good best, what is it? The best defense is a good offense.
But they don't even know it. That's the thing. They don't,
Right.
because they're lying to themselves. They actually don't know. So
Right.
that is what a lot of people are doing out there. I just realized it when I don't know what you said that provoked that, but I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's why that happens, is because they get the feeling in their body and they go in their gut. They're like, oh, I don't feel so good. I think you're lying. But really, they're totally lying to themselves, but they
Yeah.
can't see it. And so they project it back out because they reject
Yeah.
it. Their ego says, no, we don't want to know that right now.
Exactly. And when you're there with that truth meter,
And I'm looking at
you're
them
not
like,
telling them they're lying.
no, I'm not. I never talk about
You're just
them.
there, yeah, because you're talking only from your own field, your own personal
Yeah.
field.
Like I'm staying in my space and I'm talking from the I place. Like I'm this, I'm that. And this person's like, you're doing this. And it's like, no, no, I'm not. So
But you are shaking trees.
and I am a tree shaker. But that's pertinent. This is a really good, actually, that was a gold nugget for everybody out there that's a light worker. That was a huge gold nugget, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, if you guys don't make a comment on that one in this post, please. That was huge. Thank you, Laurie. That was great. Thank you for instigating that.
My pleasure.
That was fantastic. Oh, I love those gold nuggets. See, that's why we do the work, right? This is what curiosity is about. Because almost the game now, Laurie, for me, is to uncover all the little ways the ego tries to get control and like reveal it. Like
Mhm.
there you are again. I see you.
And you can do that with such unconditional love,
Yeah. It's like a
because
game. It's a
because
game now.
it is a game, and the ego eh, doesn't want to be judged. So if we tried to do that with some kind of judgment, well, it would just be part of the same thing, and then we'd be spiraling into that. So, but the ego really does appreciate the love. I mean, that's been my experience of it anyway, is that my experience, my ego kind of settles down. That part of me that doubts goes, but that part of me that kind of isn't so sure of everything, that kind of settles down when I feel that love.
Well, now you're making me think of the Native Americans
Hmm.
because they talk about this as coyote medicine.
Interesting. Okay. It's not my world, so tell me.
Yeah. So they'll say, oh, that's coyote, so beware of coyote. Because if you look at coyotes in the wild, like they tend to be mischievous. They make a lot
Hmm.
of mischief, right? They're
Hmm.
mischief makers. Well, that's the ego is a mischief maker, totally a mischief
Absolutely.
maker,
Yeah.
right? But we don't hate coyotes, do we? We're like, oh, they're cute. right? They're really cute. They look at the things they're doing. They're creating some mischief, but it's a game. And I
Mhm.
like this perspective so much better than blaming and shaming the ego. The ego helps us be
Yeah,
here. Like, let's stop blaming and shaming it. It like keeps us alive, you know?
exactly. And it's, I like to really think of it as the vehicle. I don't even think of it as I think of it as the personality. And the personality, you have this incredible, bubbly, delightful, engaging personality. That's how you express who you are. You express all of your gifts and all of that soul experience through your incredible personality. And our personalities are just fine. You know, if we could lighten up thinking of that they have to change and shape up
Or be so stern and
and
severe
be
with them.
really,
So mean. I can be that with myself, people in private. Like, I'm
and
seriously
me
like, oh,
too,
dang
me
personality,
too.
you just got me again. You know, like, you know?
But when it's like oh, yeah.
But in moments like this, because I'm partially channeling when I'm speaking to you guys right now, and so when I'm in the channel mode, like, it's all fun and play. Like, I'm like, oh, it's just a coyote. It's so fun. It's Mischief Maker. It makes the
Exactly.
game interesting, right? Like this, if you think about it, this is a game we're playing, and the soul level. It doesn't feel like a game here on the personality level, but at the
Mhm.
soul level, it really is, and it's not meant to be mean. It's not meant to hurt the personality or cause them suffering. Like, it's just that we're going to go through these, places where we're not aligned so we can experience it.
Mhm. And it gives us the opportunity to say, oh, let me align.
Yeah, or let me feel that, and then go back and feel what it's like to be me again and feel my
That's the
alignment.
alignment. That's the alignment.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just truly the whole system, the whole setup, if
Yeah,
I can use that word, is pretty magnificent.
it is. It's remarkable. And when you really start dancing with it at a conscious level, it's kind of mind-blowing how pervasive it is. It's in every single thought, every feeling, every nuance, every connection, everything.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we have the ability, and this is part of a big part of my work is I'm talking about it this way, and this is new too. It's really like an installation of an app into your body so that that connection, that channel within yourself is opened up and it's there. And you can deny it, you can forget, but it's there. And in a breath, you can go right back into it.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, it's kind of like you never have to leave the dream.
Because it's not a dream.
When you dream at night, you think you're dreaming and you're having this amazing experience, right? And then you think you wake up and it's hard, cold reality.
Right.
I used to have that hard, cold reality. I don't have that anymore. My whole life
Mhm.
could just be it's the same.
It's all part of it.
It's all the
Mhm.
same thing. Like right now, sitting here feels like I'm lying in my bed dreaming. Like it's all the same
Mhm.
thing to me.
And then that gives us the opportunity for the expansion to keep expanding.
Yeah.
You know, that we are in that place of expansion. And when we forget, it's not like the expansion stops, but our awareness of it stops. And so we can take a breath when we have that connection, we can go right back into that, oh, what's coming right now? What's here? What's manifesting now? Where do I need to step now? And we're in that dance with life. And that for me is self-mastery. And that's the place of truly living in every single moment with the awareness of how we are connected.
Yeah. Every step with God is what they say, and
Mhm.
that's, yeah, every moment, every breath.
But it's
Wow.
not
And
a
yeah,
metaphor. It's not a metaphor.
it's not, it's real. You know what time it is? 1:11 here.
Woo!
Woohoo! So that was beautiful. Wow, Laurie, what an amazing conversation. I really appreciate that. That was incredible. So do you have a free gift for people or a way that they connect with you, how they find out more about what you do?
Yes, certainly. You mentioned my podcast, Wisdom Talk Radio. My website, though, is the Baca Journey, THE, then BACA journey.com. And the Baca refers to a place where this group of about 50 of us would gather over a period of about 20 years to do our own inner research around how living in this way, working with energy, took us into the place of self-mastery. So that's the kind of the quickie of the name. And two free gifts. One is a book it's actually a course. It's 7 ways to connect with your own inner guidance.
That's awesome.
And,
How perfect, because we've been talking all about that. That's great.
right. That's not the title, but that's essentially what it is. And then you get a series of emails that are the part of the Illumination series. And I'm doing this for your listeners and your audience to have a 30-minute right fit next step session with me. It's completely free. It's really we're going to take a laser focus to see what's the right next step for you.
Beautiful. Thank you. How generous. Thank you so much, Laurie. That's beautiful. Gosh, you guys, this was amazing. That I could have let this go on really long. But I know Laurie, I'm already over Laurie's time because I was a little late getting on the interview and I don't want to take too much more of her time. But man, we'll do this again, I know.
We will.
Sure.
Thank you. I've loved it being with you, Carrie.
It's amazing. So everybody, please claim Laurie's free gifts. You'll find the links in the show notes. And, be sure to go over and like Laurie's podcast, Wisdom Talk Radio, and comment on it and, give it some love. Watch my interview over there. And yeah, because we were talking about other stuff. And also, be sure to like and comment on this episode wherever you found it. If you found it on YouTube or iTunes or the Soul Nectar website or wherever you found it, and leave a rating on iTunes so that more people can find this wisdom to help them connect in with their inner guidance system and help them find that unconditional love. Don't you want everybody in the world to feel unconditional love? Wouldn't that make the world a better place if every single person felt unconditional love? I think we would have a whole different world that we could live in. We could live in the Garden of Eden then, the Garden of Earth, if everybody had that spot inside them. So please share. Love you guys. And here come the kisses because I give rewards. Here they go. You can help me if you want, Laurie. We're here going kisses. Love you guys. See you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye.
Bye-bye.